I think this is the part that we really need to take personal responsibility for. Saturday, I had a little low-grade fever.
So over the global quarantine, I've been playing a lot of Europa Universalis 4. Europa Universalis 4, the hit grand strategy game from the Viking settlement of Birka, is one of my favorite addictions that has taken over my life. I've wasted hours of my time I could have spent being productive, forging lifelong bonds, and making meaningful decisions. All those hours going instead into expelling minorities from my pure German Muslim shogunate to the slums of New Jersey. Only paradox can make being authoritarian so much fun. Now, Europa Universalis 4 or EU4 has many different nations for you to choose from a large roster of diverse peoples. You could choose from one of hundreds of tribes, kingdoms, empires, shitholes on the planet. From the underpowered Prussians to the peaceful Ottomans, the EU4 lets you truly experience history from 1444 to 1821. But one region that many forget about is Alaska, specifically the island of Haida Gwaii, on the world stage an insignificant pile of whale penis, dirt, and rock, but home to the Haida tribe, a small band of whale hunters. But in this video, the Haida people will be at the center as we see how far we can play as the worst nation in EU4. It's juice and jam time. So what makes Haida the worst nation in EU4? Well, it isn't their ideas, that's for sure. With access to the highly unique Pacific Northwest ideas with their two neighbors, Chinook and Slalish. So what makes Haida so terrible? I'll give you a hint. So big problem, location. Haida does win the award for the most isolated nation on the planet. Alaska is one of those shitholes hundreds of miles away from any sources of power, and will take hundreds of years for any European influence to reach Alaska. Sadly, Alaska isolation, however, does not make it immune to the coronavirus, so we're gonna have to wash our hands during this Let's Play. Not only that, but you're primitive with no Renaissance or feudalism technology, making all the technology cost more in order to stay up to date. And if we don't have the same technology as the Europeans, history's gonna repeat itself in more ways than one. So we're gonna need to reform our native government. Simple enough. Put points into the ideas, and after getting all the ideas, you reform, right? You need to have a core you control to be right next to the core of a nation or colony that has feudalism or Renaissance. Then you can reform. This is a problem, as Europeans usually come to the continent at the east coast or southern coast at around 1500, and we are in Alaska. By the time the Europeans reach the area, they will have a hold on America too strong to dislodge. The Haida will repeat history, watching top 10 videos on why their nation sucks. So how do we play as Haida? Well, we're gonna have to get the fuck out of here, which is one thing. We have two options for realistic migration, east and south. South to the many different Mayan, animalistic, and Nahuatl peoples, and east with the rest of our totemist cousins. Unfortunately, Paradox has made it impossible for natives to explore open ocean, so unless Polynesia becomes the 300th for Paradox DLC, a third route to the Pacific is impossible. South is more often than not the best choice. With access to the Nahuatl religion and gold of Mesoamerica, it's a no-brainer. So I start my first series of playthroughs running to El Dorado. Now you might be thinking, looking at the map, Master of Rawfulness, this isn't exactly across the street, and you're right, but EU4 allows native nations the ability to migrate to different territories. The process is incredibly slow, however. But there are ways to augment that. If we get ourselves to negative stability, we get a cooldown bonus for our migrations, which is huge, because if you combine that with the diplomatic idea, we can get a total of 55% cooldown reduction moving at light speed to Mexico. All it costs is us putting our civilization in total anarchy. One problem, we need to get to negative stability in order for this to happen, so there's only one way to do it. Hugs and kisses, really, right? No, not really. We beat the living shit out of our neighbors. Usually in playthroughs I would take their cash, probably in the form of seashells or whale penis humiliation. But let's kick it off with the first foray into Mexico that went really well. We managed to siege down a province with 11k, and we were coasting along the ways of success. I even got prisoners with jobs from the friendly native population. But wait, what's this? Why do I hear boss music? Alright, second playthrough. The beginning is the same, but I changed my attack target to the equally primitive animist nation in Mexico with gold provinces. This ended in victory, but left my nation too devastated to fight on against the neighbors. In addition, my government type, I could not fabricate claims. And since in EU4 you need a clear and present reason why you need to beat the shit out of someone, without this I was basically always putting myself at negative stability, which hampered me throughout that Let's Play. After a few unsuccessful attempts, I head down to Mexico for my last real attempt to face off against the Nahuatl factions. I lose again, you know, been there, done that. Oh wait, nope, this time I win. And once again, I dive deeper into Nahuatl territory and I face more and more of these alliance blocks. And I lied, I still lost this one. The tech difference and the dev difference was really starting to become apparent between me and the Mesoamericans, especially with my late arrival. So after these playthroughs, I rip up the map, try this campaign again. To the east lay the rest of America, and now east was the only feasible option besides Mexico, and it's not really a good one. The best provinces are along the northern east coast or the Gulf Coast, but I ended up choosing the east coast route so that I could make the pilgrimage to the rat mecca of America, New York City. The Big Apple. So deadass, we walk through miles or kilometers if you are of the ascended race with the best pair of Tims I could find, and me and my band of whale hunters head to NYC on a quest to become hype beasts. So I haven't mentioned this at all, but because of the coastline of California and Mexico, I was able to skip across provinces to get to Mexico. With Manhattan, I would not have this advantage at all. There were hundreds of provinces for me to go through and many violent Native Americans. It's gonna be a long and violent journey. So here we go. The start was so far so good. Beat up my neighbors, moved through the tundra shithole of Canada. It was here that I would have the first issue in my playthrough, in which one native group blocks me with their borders, getting body blocked multiple times by different groups. I felt like they were running a train on me. Weird, there's so much territory in the North American continent, but because there is absolutely nothing to do, everybody bounces around and spreads the Wuhan virus everywhere. Eventually on my travels though, I would beat the shit out of the Huron, take their money, and finally border my target, but someone was already there. I tried to politely tell them to leave in the best way possible, and the famed Iroquois tried to help them. So Haida made history on February 19, 1515 by cleaving the Iroquois territory in two and taking Manhattan. Now my strategy was simple. I would try and reform off of the next European province possible that would spawn near me, and also try and conquer as much territory as possible and colonize before the white man arrived. Sadly, nobody came to New Haida City, so I had to watch as Portugal went to Texas and had to wait slowly for the next colonizer to arrive. But this delay meant that I reformed my government in about 1574 off of a Spanish colony near Maryland, no less. But after that, I finally was reformed and I could fabricate claims on different territories and conquer people like a normal person, make an income. I conquered the nearby natives with newly acquired white people guns, and we later invaded and conquered the heathens from our lands. Our empire stretched from New Hampshire to Virginia. I felt unstoppable. My empire was still weak to the machinations of the outsiders, and I was often declared war on by the various Caucasianoids that were around Europe. I had managed to expand in Louisiana and Maine, but I was attacked so often and given no respite. It was just like the Mesoamericans and Native Americans running a train on me, but once again, I became an unwilling participant of this gangbang. Now, I had given up after this point. I had other projects to focus on, and this quick detour to a different game wasn't the most intelligent idea for a new type of content for the channel, but my uncontrolled ADHD had hooked me to this idea of Haida being possible not just to survive, but to thrive. So this time I tried one last time, this time forsaking my backwards and inferior beliefs and instead adopting the superior teachings of Jesus, bringing my teachings in the most peaceful ways possible. Now, last time I noticed the Europeans went to the culturally enlightened state of Texas, so there I go instead. So we set off for what would be Haida, Louisiana, but instead of fighting the Aztecs, those obsidian snorting fanatics, I, at the start, waited and built up my nation, colonized the territories around me, and soon became the most developed and advanced civilization in the southern North American continent. I've never been so proud to be a bloodthirsty whale hunter, but the Europeans soon were exploring the continent, first the Castilians, then the English. The Castilians were finally the ones with territory, settling down near modern-day Mexico and Texas border. All I had to do was wait till Castilians and I touched tips, and I could get herpes off him and then spread it to the rest of my primitive population. This herpes strain will jumpstart my people's true potential and allow us to conquer the continent. I've never been so happy to receive an STD before in my life, but after edging my monarch points to the point of ejaculation, I knew the outcome would change everything. So as soon as I reformed, I blitzed the Castilians as soon as I could, annexed them peacefully into my realm, and basically chilled afterwards. I waited till they became colonies first. I'll explain why that's important later. I even picked up some Bibles the kind Spanish dropped while running away back home, and we quickly dedicated this run to Christ, in hopes of his blessings being given to me. Dedicating a video to a deity has worked before. My empire adopted Christianity with hefty gusto, and we decided that the best way to practice our faith was through crusade, the favorite pastime of the pre-hentai world. I decided to stay with Catholics, even though Coptic is the superior Pokemon type in Christianity. So, now with a large empire and a healthy supply of modern firearms, I quickly went back to the Mesoamericans and we buried the hatchet, and became good friends. While my crusade on Mesoamerica was taking place, I was also expanding, grabbing colonies of the white man, allowing me to take sweet influence ideas, since I'll be giving all my shitty grain provinces and fish provinces to vassals. Now, I'm flashing my ideas on screen right now, but basically my focus was to try and get the Inuit Space Marines as fast as possible, the Haida Thunder Warriors to be up and running as soon as they possibly could, possibly even to Horus Heresy levels, and also to try and get my inflation and corruption as low as possible. Did I also mention I would be 6 techs behind in admin and diplo power? Yeah, I had a hard time grabbing institutions, and I wanted to wait until they came to me through colonial conquest, and I assumed some alliances would get me some knowledge sharing, but nobody wanted to be my friend, because Castile, Great Britain, and Portugal always found a way to roll up to my country with all their colonies and try to beat the shit out of me. Not France, because they were in a personal reunion with Castile. Yeah, this was a weird game. So while my techs were so laughably behind, my military tech was always solid, and I was always prepared to wreck and overwhelm the Europeans. The trick is to always attack the colonies. Sometimes if you attack a colony, a colonial overlord will not come and save their subjects. So, more often than not, while they're fighting a different war, I would attack the colony and abuse this greatly to expand into British and Castilian colonies. Again, Castile never formed Spain. Weird game. My military advantage made conquest in Mesoamerica extremely easy. It was a playground abusing my previous abusers. I raided and destroyed every Nahuatl, animist, and Mayan province I could find, converting them to the one true faith. Who knew guns were so effective against spear-based armies? But eventually I convinced most of the Mesoamericans to join my nation and conquered a sizable chunk of colonial territory, expanding my borders across America. My nation knew only war at this point. My main enemies were the British and the Castilian Empire, where I slowly pushed back their colonies, even with my administrative and diplomatic issues. Much of the later half of the game was us conquering savages, kicking the outsiders from our lands, going into Castilian Florida, Canada, New Castile, and British Columbia, gobbling up everyone in our quest for clean borders.
Warning. Demonic presence. Threat level 5 entering main laboratory.
After countless attacks from the colonizers, I was the aggressor, constantly attacking every chance I could get, attacking each of my neighbors. Now using the fully realized power of this operational battle station, Haida was a monster, destroying the Europeans time and time again. The naval power of the Europeans kept them at bay, but only so long. And if I wasn't so behind in that tech, I would have done a sunset invasion years ago. I became the strongest nation on the planet, secured most of North America, and set my sights on conquering the European remnants in the Caribbean. With my new modernized navy, shame it only came at about 1814, but hey, I managed to grab an Australian colony to export all of my prisoners. And really, this was an accomplishment. The playthrough was a success. My nation was so ridiculous. I had so much discipline. I managed to get goods produce modifiers along with monopolizing most of the coal on the continent. So I was a production juggernaut, a North American superpower. After seeing my nation at the top of the list, I shed some tears, and finally, all of my pain was justified and the challenge was complete. The rest of the world was a mess. The Islamic world divided by super Mughals and revolutionary Ottomans, fresh Castile Union, Russia be thick. I had such an orgasm from all the clean borders, and if anything, this video shows to Paradox that the next DLC should not be in Africa, or Europe, or the Middle East, or Asia, or hell, even a fantasy make-believe nation like Finland. The next EU4 DLC should be dedicated to Haida. Maybe a unit skin pack giving me whale skin armor, possibly even a mission tree, unique religion focus, unique unit type, whale hunter, whale rider, unique unit
upgrade allowing you to destroy ships with devastating narwhal and blue whale assaults. Maybe.
Thank you guys for watching the video. I know the Heart of the Soren video was probably something you guys were expecting, but a lot of how I make YouTube videos is like a suburban mom. I pull up to McDonald's, grab all of the coffee, fuck you. You want nuggets? Use the stuff underneath the oven instead. More content to come. I also made some very halal changes to the Patreon. Let me know what you guys think of it. These videos require way too much effort out of me, so any amount helps. Hit that bell. Remember to wash your hands hard enough to melt through the first layer of skin. Remember, it's either that or a bullet in the head in North Korea, which I know all of my viewers are from.
발사가 성공했습니다.
Guess what? You're not allowed to own any weapon. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds.
So when you were in Beto, when you said you're going to take our guns, that
I did not say that. That's not true. I did not say that.
It's a viral video.
It's a viral video like the other ones they're putting out that are simply a lie.
Your voice, you said that you're taking the guns.
Well,
he just clarified
it. Wait. Take your AR-14s.
Okay, this is not okay.
Hold on.
All right.
Hey, let's
don't tell me anything, pal. I'm going to go outside.
There's a lot of guys.
Hey, you're